Yeah, the fact of the matter is, for my father, the priority really, whether I remember it exactly as a child that way, the priority is the shul and the school and the community. I once asked him a question, and I got a difficult answer. I was dating someone, and the person I was dating asked sort of what would my priorities be, because I was also a rabbi at the time working with my father, and I said my priority was my family, and I went to my father and I said, I answered that my priority was my family, what would you answer? And he actually said that he felt like it was 51% community and 49% family, which was a difficult thing for, obviously, a member of the family to hear. My father, as far as I can tell, is the busiest person on the planet. He's, there's no other way to put it. He's just constantly working, and he's constantly doing things, and he's constantly with the community, he's constantly with, the school and the shul and with its members through good times and bad times. However, with all of that, I think what really is amazing about my father is that the bottom line is, certainly as an adult, there's never been a time when I've needed him that he has not been there. Whether it was when I was a rabbi in Stamford, Connecticut, or whether when I was a rabbi working with him, I could call him at any hour of the day, and he had time for me. And the same is true now. There are times when he'll call me, and I'll sort of see it on the caller ID and be like, oh, I don't think I have time to talk to him right now. And I realize, idiot. I'm not a quarter as busy as he is, and yet I could call him at any time of the day now, and he somehow has time to talk to me. He'll always answer the phone. He might say, I have someone sitting in front of me, but it's rare. And he always does have someone sitting in front of him, but yet he somehow has figured out a way to make time.
Sometimes my father, you can tell his mind is so on whatever's going on in the community that he's just blanked out. And you begin to try and get his attention at the table. You're like, Abba, Abba. And I'm like, it's funny, it's my oldest brother. To get my father's attention, you can try and he say Abba 2 or 3 times, then he goes, Rabbi. And then my father looks. Because sometimes he's just spaced out.
Definitely was always in rabbi mode. It was a big deal for him to be, maybe 5,000 miles away from home and take off his tie. That was big, but no, I didn't feel that detracted from the relationship. Although I have to say, one of my fondest memories going back to St. Louis is my father bringing me to St. Louis Blues games and writing his speeches there. So he had no interest in being there, but he brought us. We used to go a lot. He would. I think there were times, things were tough. You felt certain pressure, or people really being not nice. We had a guy call us up every night at 3 o'clock in the morning and hang up the phone because he was angry at my father about something. I don't think it was related to this or something else. It was like a regular thing. 3 o'clock he would call, someone would pick up, he'd hang up, or he'd ask for Russia Krause. And I'm like, whoa, this is a crazy world we live in. So I guess that that bothered me. I'm sure that bothered me a little bit. Or, you don't want to see your father hurt, and I think I felt.
Over the years, I've realized that there's a certain shvil hazahav that my father has chosen. As I've matured, I think over the past few years, I've definitely realized the importance of what my father's been doing and how incredible he is.
I happen to have been one of them, a certain level, one of the more religious kids in my peer group in certain ways. I always daven. From the time I was bar mitzvah until now, I've davened 3 times a day, put tefillin on every day. So I began to feel a little uncomfortable davening in my dad's shul. I thought I'd feel uncomfortable coming back and davening in the shul. So I think the shift started at some point. I think I wrote this is before the era of email, I think I wrote my dad a letter when I was in Israel, trying to be respectful and appreciative at the same time, towards the end of before I was going to come, trying to explain why I don't want you to be insulted. You kind of notice that when I'm in shul, if I what I would do is I would daven. I would wake up, daven vasikin, and then go to shul on time, like with a chumash or a seifers like that. When everyone else would, when people would stand up for Shema Esra, I'd stand up for Shema Esra. I mean, nobody in the shul had any idea that I wasn't davening in the shul. I know my dad felt this is something of a rejection of him, and he was loving, but I think hurt.
The things that I do that are not necessarily what he thinks is the right thing to do, I don't necessarily do it just because, it's not to spite him, not because I'm going to do this because he's a rabbi, he doesn't like it. It always remind me to daven or tzitzis. It's hard when I go to my friend's house and he'll ask me are you going to go to shul are you going to go to shul Friday night? Are you going to shul mincha on Shabbos? And then it bothers me because I would say do not trust me, but the fact is I wouldn't necessarily go, and it's not. I don't think it's a matter of trust. It's just a matter it's what I want to do, and it gets me mad that I don't have that option. He thinks it shouldn't be an option whether or not I go to shul all the time.
I would say that I represent the new generation, and therefore there might be things that I think or do that do not necessarily represent the way I carry myself. In certain whatever you talk about certain outward manifestations. I'll go out on Sunday in a pair of jeans and not care. The fact that I'm a principal or a rabbi, doesn't bother me. He would never do that. But more than some of the deeper things, I think, are more important things, substantive things, without question. I think his hashkafa and his outlook on life and his values definitely influenced me.
Most of my friends in high school were from Orthodox families and went to Orthodox shuls, and perhaps due to that social desire to be more involved in with my friends, so I was drawn towards that. They talk about flipping out and brainwash and things like that. In a certain sense, I knew I wanted to go through that metamorphosis in order to be completely Orthodox. When I returned from Israel and I had to face the question of davening in my father's shul that didn't have a mechitza and microphones and things like that. I sat down with my father again and I said, I really don't know if I can do this. I feel like I'm betraying the values that I've found for myself. And with that, he understood, and and at that point, basically, I stopped davening in his shul.
I would say I fluctuate a little bit, but in essence, I am incredibly of like mind with my father. The older I get, the more in tune I am with him, and the more I admire the path that he chose, and the more I think he's got the truth, and philosophy.
Why are Rabbi Son's different? I don't know that there is one answer to that question. I think that the thing that makes being the son of a rabbi so difficult is that rabbis have to act as fathers not only to their children, but also to the entire community. I think that the challenge for every rabbi is to somehow strike a balance between his dedication to the community, his Elohim Yireh Haseh, and his affection for his son, his Hineni Beni, so that ultimately, Vayelchu Shnehem Yachdav.